week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, Jotaro and Star Platinum versus Dio and the world. This week's episode is the one that we've all been waiting for. The battle between Jotaro and Dio is so freaking intense. So manly, it'll make you into a sexual tyrannosaur. This week's episode was really simple but a lot of fun, and honestly, what I've been waiting to see from the entire series. Just the fact that we have Dio getting freaked out over the prospect that Jotaro can break free from his powers the world is an amazing concept, and this episode delivers. There were some scenes this week that made me want to jump up out of my chair and just cheer. Finally getting to see Dio beat back just a little bit. Throughout the whole course of the episode, you get to see that Jotaro is starting to learn a little bit more about Dio's powers the world, and whenever he gets frozen by it, he's able to slowly move his body and even attack for just an instant, just a small moment. There's a scene where he literally punches right through the world, and this ends up leaving this massive gash right in Dio's stomach, exploding out the back. He slams right into this one building, has all of this glass cut his legs to pieces, completely cutting him apart. It's an amazing scene, and what's really great about it, and honestly my favorite thing, is that Dio is starting to get freaked out and incredibly paranoid over the fact that Jotaro can actually defeat him and the world. We even got to see the return of Polnareff this week, who had honestly one of the coolest scenes from the whole series when he appears from out of nowhere like a freaking white knight coming out of the sky and stabs Dio from behind with his rapier sword. Dio even mentions if he was just a little bit closer, he could have completely destroyed his brain, meaning Polnareff could have possibly defeated Dio in this week's episode, but he ends up just getting smacked across a building, and this is probably my favorite part of the episode, aside from just all the amazing action, was the build-up to finally seeing Jotaro tricking Dio. There's a scene where he's beaten back very badly, having all of these multiple knives thrown into his body. Luckily, he saw this coming, and he put all these magazines and books into his shirt, which is a little ridiculous, but he was still hit by a few of those knives, in particular in the shoulder, and it even looks like one went directly into his head, but thanks to his weird hair hat, it looks like he's going to be just fine. And there's a scene where he's knocked out on the side of the street, and he actually uses Star Platinum's powers to stop his heart and even a bullet that Dio tries to shoot at him. And what I love about this is just the visual of the fact that Star Platinum can sort of go anywhere. You can actually see his hand inside of Jotaro's body, actually physically stopping the heart from beating, and then beating it again to try and get him all pumped up for his big final battle, where he ends up punching Dio in the head and literally cracking massive portions of his skull. It looks like an X-ray attack from Mortal Kombat. It's completely brutal, and it really messes Dio up. He's completely freaked out. He can barely get up and even tries to escape by grabbing onto the back of this car and being dragged away. But then you have Jotaro using, of course, his Star Platinum abilities and throwing a knife at him and getting ready to finish him up, just popping up out of nowhere. And something that's also really interesting about this episode is that Jotaro has some really new and interesting abilities with the Star Platinum, and that's that he's jumping and flying around in ways that we've never seen before. Almost like Superman, like a literal superhero flying through the city with Dio. Now, this is happening for a number of reasons. One, he's just using the propulsion from Star Platinum in order to move around really quick. There's a scene where he jumps up into the air. He has this golden aura. It could be because he's actually from the Joestar line. This might have something to do with the world and the fact that Dio can use these abilities, and they both have to do with precision and speed. So maybe this is just an ability he's never even knew he had before he had to unlock it. Maybe seeing Dio use it made him realize this is what Star Platinum can be completely capable of. But damn, just they have some amazing aura punches in this week's episode, especially the ending scene where Jotaro just completely wails on Dio. It is absolutely amazing, and I especially love the episode because you have the ending scene. Usually they just have the song, it comes in. They're getting right to the story on this one, and it actually ends again with Joseph Joestar. You see, Dio's been knocked right into his body in the same street, and he starts to absorb his blood and become even more powerful. The scene is really disturbing, and it sort of raises the stakes a little bit, because it's not enough that Joseph already had a knife frickin' shoved into his chest. Now he's had most of his blood drained by this disgustingly ancient vampire who's looking to kill his entire lineage. It's insane, and so was this week's episode. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, this was freaking metal as all hell. This is what I've been waiting for. The overall setting of the battle is amazing. I love the Egyptian city. I love the look of it at night. It just looks so great with them flying around and punching each other. Dio is incredibly sadistic. He's such an amazing villain. I've stated it before. He's one of those villains that you just love to hate. And when he finally does get attacked by Jotaro, it is so incredibly satisfying because he's such a pompous character. There's so many instances throughout this entire episode where he's like, I'm Dio! Dio this! Dio that! And it's very reminiscent of when we saw him in the first season, in particular that very classic scene where he said, you thought it was someone else, but it was me, Dio! I was really hoping they would have another callback to that scene. I just thought it was really awesome. And Dio can make anything a weapon. Now, you thought Shizuo from freaking Durarara was scary when he was picking up, like, signposts and stuff? Dio actually picks up this one signpost, which he's going to use like an axe so that he can decapitate Jotaro. This is all in this amazingly tense scene where Dio's getting ready to kill him, and then suddenly he gets up with Star Platinum and then just completely starts wailing on him. It's so awesome. This week's episode is also cool because you don't want to skip the intro. There's a brand new bit of animation at the very end, and I'm imagining they did this because they didn't want to, like, reveal what Dio's stand was going to be, because in the last episode, that's when we were really, truly, formally introduced to it and, like, what it's really capable of. And in this week's episode, at the very end, you have that scene where you usually have the Star Platinum just punching the screen repeatedly. It looks like he's fighting against an opponent. This time actually stops. We see Dio make an amazingly flashy entrance, and then we get to see both the World and Star Platinum fighting each other. It looks awesome, and it will pump you up. On the technical side of things, this week's episode looked great. Just so many great animation cues and artwork and style. I think one of the artwork scenes this week that was really good was just all the ones with Dio and his amazing expressions. The scene where he was punched and you could see the detail of his skull getting cracked. It just looked really great. Everything was fast, fluid, and incredibly hard-hitting. Every single time that Jotaro landed a punch with Star Platinum, you felt it. It pumped you up, and it was freaking exciting. Just like this week's episode, which I loved. One of the best action episodes of the entire series, and one of the greatest finales I've seen from just about any series. We got a couple more episodes to go. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this. And I still don't think that Joseph is dead. We still have not gotten an official card saying that he is dead, that he's been defeated. I think that the old man is going to somehow pull it out of this arc. I don't know how, but that's just the way it is. And I'm also kind of surprised that Dio didn't even try to finish off Polnareff with how completely freaked out he was by Star Platinum. Maybe it's because he realizes Polnareff and, Silver Chariot can't actually escape from the power of the world, and he's more concerned with Jotaro. But still, amazing episode right here, guys. I have nothing but good things to say about it. So I'm going to give this one right here a 5 out of 5. Check it out, JoJo fans. Let's face it, you've already watched it. It's awesome. Let's get excited for the finale of Stardust Crusaders. So I love this episode right here. It was action freaking packed. But what about you guys? Did you like the battle between Dio and Jotaro? What did you think about Polnareff's big flashy entrance? Is Joseph Joestar dead? What do you want to see from the rest of Stardust Crusaders? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it and share it with all of your friends. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews. You guys can also follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.